Welcome to r/TIFU, a community for the dumbass in all of us. Today I effed up by accidentally starving my cat. A bit of information for context. I'm a teacher, and it's the end of the semester, so I'm super busy. My cat, her name is Chicken, is also good about regulating her diet and not gorging herself. So I can usually dump a bunch of food in her bowl every once in a while and let her be. So a few days ago, I was making a tuna sandwich. Like most cats, as soon as the top came off the can, Chicken is there screaming at me like a banshee, wanting to share my fish. Normally, I drain the tuna juice into a small bowl and let her lap it up. But I noticed she has this big honkin' bowl of dry food she hasn't eaten. She's been becoming increasingly picky due to all the fancy wet food and treats I've been giving her. So I had a brilliant idea to drain the tuna juice over her dry food and give her a treat, but also to encourage her to eat what she's already got. Smart, right? She starts happily chomping, and I eat my tuna sandwich, and that's that. Over the next few days, I was in and out of the house, only home for brief periods of time. I always glanced at her food bowl and saw food in it, and she ran around and meowed at me like she do. She's always been a talkative cat, I'll admit. Maybe I didn't pay as much attention to her as I should have. Fast forward to today. Finished all my grading, go to happy hour with my coworkers, and come home. Chicken is practically howling at me as soon as I walk in the door, climbing up my leg, screaming at me, then screaming at her still full food bowl. I have a drunken argument with Chicken about how she needs to be a good cat and finish the food she's got. She is angry. She will not. She is a bad cat. I give in. As I go to dump her food bowl out and get fresh food for the princess, the food bowl of kibble drops out in one solid piece. It seems all the tuna juice seeped down through the overfilled bowl of food to the bottom of the dish, molded, and grew right up through the entire bowl, rendering it inedible. She must have been trying to tell me for days, and I'm a bad kitty owner. I gave her heaps of wet food and many pets in penance, but I think she's still mad at me. Sorry, Chicken. Today I effed up by thinking my delivery driver was a cat and yelling at him. So I should start by saying that we currently have 9 cats. There's a nearby feral colony, and we trap, get them spayed and neutered, and release. We shelter, feed, and provide vet care for the ones that hang around. As you can imagine, it is quite annoying having so many fur balls underfoot. 5 are allowed in the house, 4 stay out back in our home office, which is a separate building. I go back and forth all day long, letting various cats in and out, feeding, watering, etc. Today, by the time of the F-up, I had probably gotten up to open the door for the cats 20 times at least. It's warmer than usual, and they've all been going nuts from being cooped up indoors all winter. In between running errands for the cats, I ordered groceries and took a shower. Then I decided to play some Monster Hunter World. I'm new to the game and got sucked in, and pretty much forgot entirely about the delivery. When I walked into the house, because I was in the office, I told my daughter to start the dishes, and I heard what I thought was a cat scratching to be let in. Having become very, very tired of the back and forth, I threw open the door and basically yelled, "Greetings, cretin!" Instead of the cat that I expected, a very shocked delivery man stood outside. I stood there, wet hair, in my pajamas, a shirt used recently for painting the house, and no bra, and we stood just staring at each other for a moment before I panicked, yelling, "I am so sorry. I thought you were a cat." And then he started laughing hysterically. He seemed to think it was pretty funny, but it's pretty much the most embarrassing thing to happen to me in years. I have to tip him extra now. It also made me realize that I have now progressed to full-on crazy cat lady. As I'm not yet 40, I have hit this phase much earlier than expected. Alas. Today I effed up when I told the school my mom fed me cat food for dinner. This was back when I was 8, but it was a bit funny to me. Not to my parents, but keep in mind that I was 8, and 8-year-olds kind of assume that their life is the same as everyone else's life. Growing up in a semi-rural area with poor parents, we didn't have all the nicest things when I was little, but my parents tried to make do. For example, a lot of our food was wild game, but my parents got a lot of it processed as ground meat and steaks, so we had a lot when everyone else was having beef. Elk. It's what's for dinner. We didn't have a lot of money for Hamburger Helper, which was a relatively new thing, and knockoff versions didn't exist back then. So my parents made the best of it and mixed ground elk, boiled rice, and tomato soup concentrate. It was actually surprisingly tasty. I asked them what it was called, and one of them, probably my mom, sarcastically told me that it was cat food. So the next day, we were at school, and the teacher asked us to draw our dinner from the night before. I drew the dish my parents made, which the teacher couldn't recognize. She asked me, "What is that? What did your parents have for dinner?" This was Mrs. Black, who loved me, but hated many of the children. Innocently, I told her, "That's cat food." "Cat food?" she asked. "You had cat food for dinner last night?" Totally nonplussed, I told her that I did, and it was tasty. She asked me if I had cat food often, and I told her no. This was the first time my parents made it, but I liked it, and they said they were glad, because it meant they could make it more often, because it was cheap and easy. Imagine my dumb ass relaying of all this while my teacher stands behind me with an increasingly disturbed look on her face. Then she left us for a little bit, asking the teacher in the next room to keep an eye on us. Cut to me getting home from school, and my mom coming home from work enraged. "Did you tell the teacher that I fed you cat food for supper last night?" Since one of my chores when I came home was checking on the cat's food, that was fresh in my mind. I said, "No." Arguments ensued, where my mom keeps telling me that the school called her and told her that she was neglecting my care, and me increasingly insisting it wasn't true. Eventually, she lost her temper, and I caught a whooping. When dinner time rolls around, my mom asks me what I want. Without thinking, I answer, "Cat food." And now for some r/jokes, the funniest sub on Reddit. My kids tell me they want a cat for Christmas this year. Normally we cook a turkey for Christmas, but if they want cat, okay. People often tell me there's more than one way to skin a cat, but no one is even willing to show me even one way.